So the prison is no longer a prison itself.
It's a mall!
In 1986, a ruling by the West Virginia Supreme Court stated that confinement to the 5 by 7 foot cells constituted cruel and unusual punishment. So the prison was decommissioned within 9 years, and it was then closed as a prison. It now lives on as a training site for police forces. It also is a great place for tourism. You can go there as a haunted prison tour. They have ghost stories. They have overnight tours, which I bet is a lot of fun.
It's a standard corporate office.
So basically, yeah, now it's just, a fun haunted prison.
It's haunted by the lost souls of cubicle workers. Ooh.
A conservative company bought it and said, "We gave you a nice office.
You gotta come into work."
No working from home."
Truly the most haunted place in America. And welcome back.
Yay! Hello!
Welcome back.
Happy 17th episode.
Ooh, yes. Welcome back to episode 17 of Beards and Sundries.
That's right, you guys. It is our 17th lunch break here at Beards and Sundries, the shop where 3 gay men with beards do inventory on a new sundry item in each episode.
I'm Jay, and this time my moans won't scare you.
Ooh.
And I'm Anthony, the ghost of a Victorian child whose governess drowned him in a well.
Oh, so cute.
Joe, a stylish ghost who only shops the fanciest boutiques.
That was good.
I like it.
And for today's sundry item, we are talking about hauntings and folklore. That's right, Beardos. We are continuing on with Spooky Month, and we are going to dive into the places where we grew up to talk about some truly spooky occurrences that happened there.
Can I find scary things in the sundries area?
Yeah, is ectoplasm in the sundries section of the store?
Ooh, yes. I want to know that too.
You can find some really scary shit in sundries because they don't know where to put it. Now, if you guys are new to our show and you're wondering just what the hell a sundry is, the term comes from an old English word meaning odds and ends. Now, today it's used mainly in retail as a way to group together items that otherwise wouldn't have their own group. So, as 3 gay men with beards, we're going to use the term to group together, the wide range of topics that we cover each week.
Wow.
Incredible.
I am not scared of that.
I'm terrified of how well that went.
Those are some scary sundries indeed.
It's going to haunt me for days.
I saw Jay was just hanging out over there.
Yeah!
So, you guys could probably think of something spooky wherever you grew up, but the 3 of us grew up in different states, so we did some research of our own. We dove into where we grew up, and we dug up some fun topics for you guys to kind of listen in on and see if you guys have thoughts on, and just enjoy the ride. So we're going to start off by going through the 3 states that we came from, some scary things that happened there, and then we'll kind of touch on some things where we live now. Jay, of course, lives in Oklahoma City, and Anthony and I live in Tulsa, so we're going to find some fun stuff to kind of round out our topics before we go to our commercial break this episode.
But we're all 3 from different states, so that'll be kind of fun to talk about where we all came from with our stories.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, so as you guys probably know, because I mention it often, I grew up and I resided in West Virginia for much of my life before I moved to Oklahoma. So I found a couple of topics that were kind of interesting to me. I did learn some things while doing this research, and I thought there were some very interesting things to kind of talk about. So the first one I want to talk about is the West Virginia Penitentiary.
Ooh.
The West Virginia Penitentiary was a prison that was built in Moundsville, West Virginia, way back right after the Civil War. So after West Virginia seceded from Virginia at the end of the Civil War, they found themselves in kind of a pickle. They didn't have a state prison. So after using county jails for a little while, it proved to be inadequate because after 9 inmates escaped in 1865, the local press took up the cause and the legislature took action. So finally, in 1866, the state legislature approved the purchase of land in Moundsville for the purpose of constructing a state prison. Moundsville proved a really attractive site because it was approximately 12 miles south of Wheeling, West Virginia, up in the northern panhandle, and at that time that was the state capital capital, so it was an ideal location for a prison. So it also included space for female inmates and personal living quarters for the warden and his family to live on site. The facility finally opened in 1876, and the prison had a population of 251 male inmates, including some of them who had helped construct the prison which they were now incarcerated in.
Whoa. I mean, okay, why am I surprised? The American prison system hasn't changed since then, so...
Yeah, I was like, no, that seems pretty normal to today's America.
Slave labor.
Thanks for being cheap.
Slave labor. Yeah.
So also I read that executions were pretty commonplace here at the prison.
In West Virginia?
Wow, what a shock. Hanging was the method of execution all the way until 1949. The public could attend hangings, which were public until June 19th, 1931. Because on that date, inmate Frank Heyer was executed for murdering his wife, and when the trapdoor beneath him was opened, his full weight settled into the noose, and he was instantly decapitated.
Oof.
Whoa.
Oopsie poopsie.
Head on, more like head off.
Wow. Head off. Applied directly to the neck.
Head off. Apply directly to the neck.
Apply directly to the noose.
94 people dead. That's basically like a 6-month stint at the Oklahoma County Jail because we lose a lot of people randomly in this state.
Ugh.
It's terrible. Right now, it's terrible. Like, I don't know how we are not running into more issues in this city.
Well, they changed their method in 1951. They changed it to electrocution instead, and they had an electric chair nicknamed Old Sparky. And it was originally built by an inmate there whose name was Paul Glenn.
Old Sparky? You mean new Sparky?
9 men were executed before the state prohibited capital punishment entirely in 1965.
They were like, you know what? Maybe hanging is a little inhumane. Let's go to electrocution. That'll be fine.
Electricity's still pretty new, and it's
all the rage.
It's the humane way of killing them because it lasts less time than a hanging.
Thomas Edison was like, you guys are gonna love this.
So the prison is no longer a prison itself.
It's a mall!
In 1986, a ruling by the West Virginia Supreme Court stated that confinement to the 5 by 7 foot cells constituted cruel and unusual punishment. So the prison was decommissioned within 9 years, and it was then closed as a prison. It now lives on as a training site for police forces. It also is a great place for tourism. You can go there as a haunted prison tour. They have ghost stories. They have overnight tours, which I bet is a lot of fun.
It's a standard corporate office.
So basically, yeah, now it's just, a fun haunted prison.
It's haunted by the lost souls of cubicle workers. Ooh.
A conservative company bought it and said, we gave you a nice office.
You gotta come into work.
No working from home.
Truly the most haunted place in America.
Corporate America.
So one last little tidbit that I'll close on this topic with is from travelchannel.com. And it says, though the prisoners are gone, they are not forgotten, and by many accounts, the ghosts of some of the 998 men who died here still roam free. There's a shadow man that has been seen and even photographed.
It's me.
Staff of the prison have been accosted by unseen forces.
It's me.
Strange noises still echo throughout the cell blocks.
Also me.
That's you, Jay. And something dark lurks in the bowels of the building. Ooh.
Something dark lurks in my bowels.
Almost all the time.
It's poop. So in Kansas, I guess I'll start with the one I knew first. And I'm not going to go quite into as much detail because I just didn't feel like it. So I'm sorry, everyone. But in Coffeyville, Kansas, which is right on the border of Kansas and Oklahoma, kind of on the southeast a little bit side, there is a place called the Brown Mansion. And I've toured it numerous times growing up. I couldn't tell you much about it because I don't remember. But
fun fact, listeners, brown is also the color of poop.
Is it called that because you poop there so much, Jay?
Yes. Ugh. My bowels were haunting it.
Ooh.
It was a pretty mansion that was completed in 1906. It's 3 stories and has 16 rooms. And I'm going to have to read this so I can remember. The Brown family inhabited the home during its prime. And though they were fortunate people, their children weren't. Boo.
What does that mean?
Out of their 5 kids, 2 of them died at birth, while one of them died from pneumonia. and another died from diabetic complications. The only surviving child inherited the home, and she was there until 1973 when she died. And the ghosts that are thought to haunt the home include all of the family members that died. And so people constantly say that they've seen apparitions of the daughter that lived until 1973 there, and of one of the other brothers, and I think the dad. And then they randomly smell pipe smoke and hear crying noises. So I haven't experienced any of that at that house, but
just at your house.
yeah. But honestly, it's a really pretty mansion. What's kind of funny is, if I recall right, walking through it one of my tours, is the cabinets in the kitchen are super, super, super tall. And I think Violet, the lady that lived there, she was, what did they say, 4'9" or 5'2" or something like that. So she couldn't reach any of the cabinets.
So did she have like a ladder?
Her butler was like super tall, 6 foot something, almost 7 foot. So it's pretty funny. I think the ballroom was on the 3rd floor or something like that, which to me just throws me off, because I'm like, imagine all of these people at the top of your house just stomping around.
Having to climb 3 floors to the ball.
Ugh, that's exhausting. I don't even like to climb 1 floor. Then I have to dance too.
Dance! Dance until you die! Also, imagine dying and being like, I think I could go on to the afterlife, or I could stay in my mansion. So I'm just going to stay in my mansion.
You know, that truth, I would stay in the mansion and just kind of float around and, haunt the place for fun.
Can I get a glimpse of the afterlife first? Can I kind of see if it's like really cool, or do I just have to like walk up and choose the left or right fork and be like, afterlife or haunt people?
That kind of makes me think of Beetlejuice, because the young couple chose to stay in the house they were happy in and just live as ghosts and stay there.
That makes me think of Scary Movie, when she was running away from the killer and she ran out and saw the signs that said death or life or survive or something.
Safety, yeah.
Safety! Of course, she runs towards death, and then she sexily runs through the sprinklers, which is the right decision.
Yeah, anytime you have the chance to run through the sprinklers, semi-naked, yeah. So I chose a little bit of a different type of topic for my first one to talk about in Oklahoma. I chose the notorious ghost town of Pitcher, Oklahoma.
Ooh.
Which also resides on the northern Oklahoma and Kansas border.
Whoa!
Whoa! Kansas!
I just reread about this like 2 weeks ago. It's so fascinating.
It's very interesting. So Pitcher, Oklahoma is a ghost town in that the residents number in the tens. The town of Pitcher, Oklahoma was founded, or was established in 1920 with a population of 9,700 and change. I'm quoting this from memory, so I'm sure this will work out for me. Anyways, the town was established as a lead and zinc mining town.
Sounds right.
Yeah, and for World War I, it supplied over half of the lead used in ammunition. And it continued to supply lead into World War II. So the town was prosperous in this lead and zinc mining. While they were mining, they would take all of this runoff from their mining operations, called chat, and put the chat in piles about the town. Now, they didn't realize that this was going to be poisonous to the town, right? So they would use it in buildings.
I read about children playing in it.
Well, so some of the residents put this chat in their children's sandboxes because it was free. It was everywhere.
Because it was free. It was just, sitting around.
This town is a massive quarry, basically. Essentially, they had been poisoning the town. At some point in time, the entire water basin for this town had become poisoned with lead.
Aaron Brockovich, do you have thoughts?
Well, the town itself is considered to be the most toxic town in America. And while there are some remaining residents... Joe, what are you... What is that, Joe? What's that face?
I was going to say Yukon because Jay lives there.
Oh, yeah. That is the most toxic town in America now, unofficially.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to, remember we came back from that wedding in 2020 and we drove through Pitcher inadvertently because Google Maps took us, off the highway, and we drove through Pitcher and I was like, what is this place? It was creepy.
Oh, One more fun fact about this is that in 2008, an EF4 tornado tore through the town of Pitcher, Oklahoma, devastating hundreds of homes and the majority of the town. And that was when most residents moved out of the town, which is why their last graduating class was in 2009. The EPA actually offered buyouts for several of the citizens, which most of them took.
The tornado was like, come on, let's go, get the hell out of here.
It was the last straw for the town. They had already experienced several different issues, obviously, with lead poisoning, and that was what drove the rest of the residents away.
Guys.
Yeah.
Where I grew up, on the east side of town, we had chat piles. And those were things that we used to play on as kids, and it is starting to answer a lot of problems for me.
Oh my god.
I have never, ever in my life made that connection. I completely forgot about them. Do I sue someone?
Yeah, it sounds like you can sue someone.
So, you used to play on chat as a kid?
Yes, we had chat piles east of town.
It sounds like you better start watching those daytime commercials that say you might be entitled to financial compensation.
You might be entitled to financial compensation, Jay, because that explains a whole lot.
I completely forgot.
Beardos, we are crossing a lot of T's and dotting a lot of I's right now. We are connecting a lot of dots here.
This would explain why in my early 30s I have more specialists than my grandmother.
I mean, that was a whole problem in the town of Pitcher as well, was that children would ride their bikes up and down these chat piles. They'd play on the chat piles because nobody understood how harmful they were.
Oh my god. Now, it wasn't an often thing. Like, we weren't on them all the time, but I've definitely been on them more than once.
That's why you're still alive.
Yeah. Oh my god. Do I tell my oncologist?
Yeah.
Probably.
Oh my gosh. I do not know why that's never popped in my head. Well, don't worry, listeners. We have an episode coming later on about all my health excitements. So
It'll be called Jay, Having a Ball.
Just one.
Episode 17. The boys solved Jay's cancer diagnosis.
The boys discovered why Jay has already gone through cancer.
You say that semi-jokingly, but I'm just like, holy shit.
I know, like, I'm joking about it, but I'm also like, wait a minute. What if that has created my heart issue and my cancer that I've been through and my sleep apnea and what else have I had?
Were there other cases in Latham that were sort of high?
That would be interesting to find out if, like, anybody else that you knew at that age have had that problem.
You know, my sister has several health issues, and we played on it together.
It makes you wonder, because they ask about family history, but they never asked about town history. I wonder if some people you grew up with and hang around there, if they're having health issues too. Aaron Brockovich, get in the comments. So the next one that I pulled for West Virginia is right from the very campus I attended, West Virginia University. I pulled up a little bit of information about Elizabeth Moore Hall, or as we just called it, Moore Hall. Moore Hall was constructed between 1926 and 1928, and it was a 3-story red brick building with Georgian revival detailing. It was gorgeous, beautiful building. An addition was completed in 1962, and it has a slate-covered gable roof. It also has a 6-story tall back section because it's on the side of a hill. So it also has an old-fashioned swimming pool, it has a gymnasium, and it also houses a dance studio. So it's a really, cool building. There's a lot going on in there. The story goes that Morgantown was raided by Confederate soldiers during the Civil War. The soldiers planned to burn the building down. Moore herself persuaded the soldiers to believe that she was a Confederate supporter in order to protect the school and her students. So she was somewhat of a legend, and she saved the building. Now, she died before Elizabeth Moore Hall was completed in her honor, but there have been claims that her ghost haunts the building to protect females. Accounts of Moore roaming the halls have been reported by employees of the building, while others have discovered her portrait moved to different areas of the building without being touched. Moore's ghost has also been seen floating above the swimming pool that is in the basement of the building. Ooh.
She's just hovering. It's not that impressive.
It smells like Thai food in here. Have you guys been fucking?
Also, kind of sexist that she only protects females. Like,
What, you want to get woke about Elizabeth Moore? Go right ahead.
No, not at all, actually. I do want to know if she is a trans ally, though. Does she protect trans women? I need to know.
So the reason that she protects females classically in the myth, it's because the building that she was protecting was known as the Woodburn Female Seminary. So she was protecting women that were just seeking shelter.
That's fair. With the power of God and this gun I found.
It's a musket, but hold on. I just gotta hang on.
I'll be back in 5 minutes.
I'm gonna protect these females. Hold on. You just stand right there. Don't even come in here yet. No, don't come in yet.
Don't you leave. I've got to kill you.
I'm gonna float above the pool. Ooh.
Well, that was educational for me because the only thing that pops in my head when I hear West Virginia is the song Take Me Home, Country Roads.
Jay, what do you have for us next out of Kansas?
Again, out of Kansas. So this one I didn't actually learn until my first year of college when I went there. And I joined this choir group because I was on a scholarship, and it was called CC Singers. And right when we started, we did this like weekend-long camp where we hardcore went over all of the music and started learning it and dancing. And I'm not a dancer, but here we are. And so we'd go out to this camp. Well, next to this campgrounds is this place called Spooky Hollow.
Ooh.
And
Sleepy Hollow was already taken.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, well, we can't name it this.
With the heedless horseman.
And for me, it just feels like a whole bunch of folklore thrown into one. And they're like, this is our scary area. But it's like a little stretch of road in the trees. And a bridge, of course. You know, you can't have a scary spot of road without a bridge.
It's always fucking bridges.
And if I recall right, I think there's like this little den close to it that might have been an old shelter or something like that. Anyways, the story goes that a bus full of Boy Scouts collided with a drunk driver while traveling the twisty, narrow roads of Spooky Hollow. One of the boys died as a result. And nowadays, if you drive over the bridge, the ghost of the boy will cause your car to stall and die, or it'll appear to run out of gas or something, and it's just long enough for the ghost of the boy to check to make sure you weren't the drunk driver that ended his life.
Oh.
I heard about this because when we went to this camp that was next to Spooky Hollow, it was always tradition.
Such a fucking silly name.
I know, I love it. That we would, as a group, walk out and walk up the road of Spooky Hollow and see what we experience. And ironically, something did happen that night that I fully can't explain, but I'm also like, there's surely an explanation. So anyways, but a car came roaring at us. It seemed like it came roaring down the road. And we were all like, oh my God, car. And we're like running to the side of the road, and then it just veers off and it takes a fork in the road. And we're like, oh, okay. Well, then when I was leaving, I drove some of my friends. And when we were leaving, I'm like, where did that car turn off? Because there's no road there.
What?
So I do remember that, but me being pessimistic I'm just like, there's an explanation I didn't understand. That was an interesting experience. But the fun thing is if I recall right, the teacher of our group, she was always part of the fun of that. And she worked with one of our students to convince him to stray away from the group. And he went off and hid in the trees for a while and followed us slowly. And then he came out and he looked really like distraught and panicked. And like a lot of people believed that something happened to him. It was pretty interesting and funny. Like I enjoyed that memory.
Okay, work.
We should have included at least one personal story from each of us for this, because I have like a couple of them that would be fun.
We have all the time. We should just do it. You're the editor.
That's true. That's really true. Well, so before we move on to our next Oklahoma subject for me that I have actually prepared for us, Jason, you shared a personal story. I have a really fun personal story of a haunting story. When I was living in Glencoe, Oklahoma, my friend lived in this old 2-story house that was stucco on the sides and fairly decent size on the bottom, but he lived in what looked essentially like a converted attic. And it had 4 built-in beds into the walls on either, so 2 on either side. And it was a place for mattresses, and there was a desk between each of these beds, right? You had to climb up these stairs, come to a landing, turn 45 degrees, and take another set of stairs to get up there.
Like an L?
Yeah, exactly. And so at night, I remember being up there and feeling like I could always hear footsteps coming up those stairs. And I just never thought anything of it. I thought it was just, old house maybe. But it was so rhythmic, right? And it was always like coming up the stairs and then stop at the top of the stairs. Then it would start over from the bottom all the way up to the top, over and over and over. And one night, I was sleeping in one of the beds on the wall, and he was sleeping on the floor because only one of the beds on the wall had a mattress and the rest of them didn't. And so he was sleeping on the floor in a sleeping bag. Well, I remember being awake and hearing those footsteps coming up the stairs. And then instead of stopping at the top of the stairs like they usually do, they continued into the room. And I was rolled over away from it, and I was like thinking it. I don't remember exactly what I thought. I thought maybe it was a family member or something. But I also was a little freaked out because the energy was weird. Like, I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? Because if that is a family member, like, why are they up here? And then it reached all the way over to my friend, and everything stopped for a second. And I heard him start sort of mumbling in his sleep at first, which was kind of weird, but I didn't think anything of it. And then he started yelling in his sleep. And that was fucking weird. So I turned over and I woke him up. And I mean, that's the end of the story, basically. But let me tell you how fucking freaked out I was by that, because it was so coincidental with the footsteps that I heard and then his reaction. It happened in way too fast of a succession for me to not make some sort of mental connection between the two. So anyways, that was super fucking spooky.
Even though my car story was kind of spooky to me, and still thinking back, I'm like, I think my, not sleep apnea, it is sleep paralysis story is still kind of my spookiest. Because I've only experienced it once, but I was in my old apartment years and years ago, and I was laying in bed, woke up in the middle of the night, heard my front door absolutely slam open, and loud stomping. And I heard the footsteps stomp right into my room. But I didn't see anything, but I couldn't move. And all of a sudden, like, I felt something just grab my feet, and then this aggressive tingle went up my entire body. And I finally woke up because I was fighting so hard to just move. And I finally woke up and I was throwing my bedding off. But that's my only experience that's kind of similar to that.
So Joe knows this, but I get sleep paralysis off and on from time to time, to the point that I ask him specifically to close the bedroom door, because when it does happen, that's where my sleep paralysis demon is. Which, I mean, is just when you have sleep paralysis, you're coming out of deep sleep, but your brain hasn't given your body the signal to wake up, like permission to go, to where your mental actions match your physical actions, right? Because when you're sleeping and you're dreaming, you don't want to be moving while you sleep. So your brain sort of disconnects that. And sleep paralysis is when you're in this sort of in-between state. And so people often report seeing like demons or shadow people. And it's just this melding of dreaming and waking states. And it happens to me not often, but often enough that I don't like having a door open where it's backlit, because if it does happen, I will definitely see something there, and it is really hard to not be terrified of it.
It's almost like a terrifying virtual reality, because you can see your normal surroundings, but something that's not actually happening is there. And it's mortifying, except I never saw anything. I only heard it. And that was even more terrifying because you had nothing to defend yourself from.
But I also didn't realize that this was a symptom of sleep apnea, which, of course, I've got a sleep study coming up.
You know, it's true. Ever since I've had my CPAP, I've never experienced that. I've never experienced anything remotely similar to that.
Yeah, it's fucking freaky. But I feel like we may have gone off on a little bit too much of a tangent, even though we're technically on subject.
It also feels kind of like a haunting, so I think it's still kind of interesting. Especially for people who haven't experienced it before.
Plenty of people experience sleep paralysis.
Statistically, I think more people suffer sleep apnea than sleep paralysis. But anyways, sleep paralysis, or sleep apnea, I think is one of the highest undiagnosed issues out there. By the way, guys, if you feel like you're suffering sleep apnea, go talk to your doctor. It's very important. It causes cardiovascular issues. Anyways, keep going.
It increases your blood pressure and ups your chance of dying of heart disease. And yeah.
Yeah, it's very dangerous to cardiovascular. Keep going.
It's the spookiest issue on this podcast today.
Boo!
Don't you know it?
Okay, so then moving on to my second Oklahoma folklore, actually, is what I chose for this one. I'm going to talk a little bit about Bigfoot.
Oh,
Very good.
Southeastern Oklahoma is a well-known hotspot for Bigfoot sightings. So much so that in the last 16 years, the town of Honobia, Oklahoma, has become a hub for Bigfoot enthusiasts. And every year they get together for a 2-day sort of convention of Bigfoot believers. And they talk.
I go to Broken Bow one time, and all of a sudden everyone thinks Bigfoot's there.
Well, this is Honobia, so it's a little bit further than Broken Bow.
Sorry, just thought it'd be funny.
that explains every time I go to your house, I pull my camera out and there's this foggy image at the middle of the night of you walking to the house.
Yeah, that's why. It's not the potato chip grease on your lens.
Damn it, those ruffles and the ridges.
So while Oklahoma is not the most notorious state for Bigfoot sightings in the U.S., it has become a sort of a local hotspot because the Wichita Mountains in Arkansas, or the Wichita Forest in Arkansas, stretches into southeast Oklahoma and meets over near Honobia, which is in Leflore County. The Bigfoot Field Research Organization, they track what they consider legitimate Bigfoot sightings / experiences, something where they, the person reporting it to them can provide them physical proof that they had an experience of some sort, whether it be a photo or a recording. They include it in like a heat map on their website. Oklahoma has a total of 111 reported legitimate, what they consider legitimate sightings from 1971 until present. Leflore County, where Honobia is at, has 25 of those, so a little under a quarter. And so the legend continues as we continue to experience Bigfoot bounding into thick fogs and out-of-focus areas. But it has brought a lot of commerce to that area of Oklahoma, which is great. And honestly, southeast Oklahoma is gorgeous, so...
Yes, it is. It's very mountainous. The drive down to Broken Bow, Oklahoma is beautiful.
Get out there. Go look for Bigfoot yourself.
Oh, it's beautiful. I would love to go hiking there.
Yeah, I want to go on an overnight or 2-night camping trip to the Wichitas because they're gorgeous.
I don't think I realized Oklahoma had so many Bigfoot sightings.
It makes sense because you see those stickers everywhere on people's cars of the Oklahoma outline with Bigfoot on it.
Well, and it also makes sense because meth is very popular here.
They're called sundries, Jay.
I don't know what the statistics are for the percentage of people who use meth. It's blue, bitch.
Oh.
Anyways.
Well, I saved the best for last for West Virginia. A few of you probably know what I'm saving here. That would be Mothman. In West Virginia folklore, the Mothman is a humanoid creature who was reportedly seen in the Point Pleasant, West Virginia area from November 15th, 1966 to December 15th, 1967. The most notorious connection, because of the 2002 film, was probably the collapse of the Silver Bridge that goes over the Ohio River. The bridge collapsed under the weight of rush hour traffic, tragically resulting in the deaths of 46 people. The first sighting was on November 15th, 1966, where two young couples from Point Pleasant, Roger and Linda Scarberry, and Steve and Mary Millette, told police they saw a large gray creature whose eyes glowed red when the car's headlights picked it up. They described it as a large flying man with 10-foot wings following their car while they were driving in an area outside of town. And then during the next few days, other people reported similar sightings. 2 volunteer firemen who saw it said it was a large bird with red eyes. Mason County Sheriff George Johnson commented that he believed the sightings were due to an unusually large heron he termed a shite poke. Contractor Newell Partridge told Johnson that when he aimed a flashlight at a creature in a nearby field, its eyes glowed like bicycle reflectors. Now, it was kind of debunked a little bit because wildlife biologist Robert L. Smith at WVU told reporters that descriptions and sightings all fit the sandhill crane, a large American crane almost as tall as a man with 7-foot wingspan, featuring circles of reddish coloring around the eyes. The bird may have wandered out of its migration route and therefore was unrecognized at first because it was not native to its region.
Jesus Christ, these are big birds.
Chippy Hedron's rolling in a grave right now.
Well, yeah, we're Alfred Hitchcock Putter.
No, it also says here that Point Pleasant held its first annual Mothman Festival in 2002. According to the event organizer Jeff Wamsley, the average attendance for the Mothman Festival is an estimated 10 to 12,000 people per year.
Holy shit.
A 12-foot-tall metallic statue of the creature created by artist and sculptor Bob Roach was unveiled in 2003. And funny thing about that statue is it has an absolute dump truck, Pixar mom, Miss Incredible,
Cheeked up.
Elastigirl, double cheeked up, dumpy.
Absolute dump truck ass.
Dump truck ass.
Which is the scariest part of all, Beardos.
Well, Jay, do you have another story for us?
I do actually have a story for locally, and it is right here in Oklahoma City. And if you've never looked it up, it is very well known throughout the NBA, actually, that downtown we have a haunted hotel.
Would that haunted hotel be called the Skirvin Hilton?
It is called the Skirvin, which Hilton owns, and I'll be honest, it is very close to my work, and so I've stopped there numerous times for happy hours. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful hotel. I love their bar. I love their lobby. It's just extraordinary. They've remodeled it. It's fantastic.
Holy hell, this is beautiful.
It's absolutely beautiful hotel. I recommend staying there. Very pretty.
Except for the ghosts.
Yeah, the ghost, allegedly she only haunts the 10th floor too. But the story behind the ghost is, I'm going to read this so that way I don't miss out on details and stumble through it. But the legend holds, this is a New York Times article actually too.
Ooh, she pays for a subscription.
Right?
It's behind a paywall.
I subscribed for it forever ago, and I don't know how to cancel it, and so I just have it.
You have to call them. I've done it before.
Ah, shit. It's only $2.99. It's fine. The legend holds that Effie, her name, was a housekeeper during the early years of the Skirvin, which used to only be 10 floors then, and they added additional floors later. The owner, which was W.B. Skirvin, he was widowed, supposedly had an affair with Effie, and when she became pregnant, ordered her to stay locked inside a room on an upper floor, even after she had the baby.
What?
Scandalous.
I know. At some point, the story goes that Effie went crazy, grabbed the baby, jumped, killing herself and the child, even though there is no record showing that. But, when you're rich, you hide that stuff.
What?
That's true. That is true. History is written by the rich.
History, yeah. Money buys you safety there. These days, Effie is considered a playful prankster, knocking on doors, opening drawers, and causing commotion in the halls. She propositions men with her voice or appears alongside them in showers.
It's me.
Sometimes she pushes a baby carriage in the hallway.
Not me.
And most haunting, perhaps, is the sound of babies
Ew.
that are heard but not seen crying in the night. And so, like, the NBA teams have complained that they stay up and lost because they've slept poorly due to ghosts in that hotel, stuff like that. So,
Okay.
Come on. Jesus fucking Christ. You look for any reason to say you lost other than the fact that you just didn't play well. Fuck you.
Don't blame your poor ball handling on Effie's fucking expert level ball handling, okay? She'll keep you up at night, and she wants to win your tip-off, all right? All right?
Just because Effie is a throat goat 3000, don't blame your poor performance on her.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's actually one of my favorite stories about hauntings in Oklahoma City, I should say. But also, as many times as I've drank at that bar, I have never experienced her. So she definitely stays on the 10th floor.
She knows not to appear next to you in the shower because she doesn't want all your chocolate sauce and explosive diarrhea.
Oh my God. He's just cramming it in the front while it's flying out the back.
Before she appears.
You know, who isn't?
Before she appears, she's watching me just downing Hershey's chocolate in the shower, and she's like, "Ooh, this guy's a psycho," and she leaves. Haha, this guy's a psycho.
Oh, that's where that comes from. I get it.
And that's how you survive the Skirvin.
Yeah, just bring your chocolate syrup. Actually, I'm not going to go into detail about this because there's a lot of stories here. But if I recall right, Guthrie, Oklahoma is one of the most haunted towns in the nation because
Is it really?
a lot of shit went down there.
Well, because it was the first capital, right?
It was originally supposed to be the capital of Oklahoma, but I'm not going to go through that story. So if you ever want to look it up, guys, Google that. Because there was a lot of drama between Guthrie and Oklahoma City.
Listeners, if you have a personal ghost story experience, feel free to send them to us at beardsandsundries@gmail.com or send them to us on socials, and maybe we'll read them out on the next episode.
Ooh, that would be fun.
So that's all we have for you guys in terms of stories that we've encountered and had a lot of fun researching. But now I think it's time for a commercial break.
Yay, it's time for a commercial.
Keeping on par with this episode's theme.
And now for a word from our sponsor, Spooky Hunters.
I had to flee the shower after a disembodied voice propositioned me, and that's why we lost the big game.
That's why I saw the headlights just vanish.
People say, if you listen closely, you can still hear the sound of Jay's violent diarrhea. From Spooky Hollow to spooky bathrooms, the Spooky Hunters are there. Providing irrefutable proof of spooks, providing the truth. Spooky Hunters, presented by the Longtime Channel.
I love Spooky Hunters. You know, when I'm just flying towards a group of campers and then I veer off into the abyss, you know, I can't think of anything I'd rather watch.
When does Spooky Hunters, right, premiere?
Yeah, it's actually been a full season already.
Oh my gosh.
They've hunted so many spookies.
Where can I watch it?
You can watch it on the Longtime Channel.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I love the Longtime Channel.
I love that they provided 100% foolproof proof of ghosts with that one ghost meter device that they made from scratch. Science.
Thermal imaging.
I don't know if you guys watched this, but a few weeks ago, this really good movie came on, and it was called something like Not a Terrible Love Story I've seen so many times before, and it was pretty cute.
It was also on the Longtime Channel. It aired back to back with Spooky Hunters.
It's getting a reboot, you guys.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Hey, Anthony, do you have something to check out this week?
If you're not checking me out, I guess we'll check something else out, damn it.
I'm rarely checking you out, Jay.
So now, Beardos, it's time for something to check out.
This week I have something to check out, and that something to check out, listeners, is the well-known horror fiction podcast, the No Sleep Podcast. In celebration of Spooky Month,
Oh, yeah.
you should absolutely check this podcast out. If you would like to be scared, if you would like to be terrified, this is absolutely not a child-friendly podcast. Some of the stories can get very intense, but it has been on the air for years and years and years and years now, and they are on their, I want to say they're on their 18th season, and they have 25 episodes per season, and it is incredible. Each episode is roughly an hour to an hour and a half long, for free if you don't want to pay for their season pass, which they sell for $25, and then you get an extra half hour to an hour bonus content for every single episode.
For each one?
For each one. Each of these episodes is done as a sort of horror anthology episode. So there is anywhere from 2, 3, 4, 5 different stories in each one of them. In the past few seasons that I've listened, they have added in a longer version of a story over the course of like 10 episodes. Last season was Goat Valley Campgrounds, which was a great story. I loved it. And it was over the course of 10 episodes, and I would listen/read more of that if I could. I wish I had more of it. So
I didn't know it was a series. I thought each story was different. I didn't know they did like anthologies.
Yeah, same here.
So sometimes they do series, and then most of it's anthology. Most of it's like individualized stories, right? This podcast originated on the No Sleep Reddit thread from No Sleep Reddit users who would tell internet creepypastas.
Oh.
And the show founder, David Cummings, started taking these and made them into a podcast. And he did it for about 3 seasons before he eventually got to the point where he was able to leave work and kind of take a chance on the podcast in the 4th season and focus on it solely. And of course, it's had 14 more seasons, so clearly it's worked out. It's got some of the best podcast production value I have ever heard. The voice acting is incredible. The score is done by Brandon Boone in every single season, so they have their own on-staff musician who does all of their music. It's really well done, so you should check it out. Their website is thenosleeppodcast.com. You can find them wherever you find your podcasts. If you want a spooky story for spooky season, the No Sleep Podcast has something for you. It is so good.
Well, now, Beardos, for perhaps the scariest part that might leave you with nightmares, Jay, is it time for a horror or story?
Oh, guys, I received a horror story from someone that wants to remain anonymous, so I can't say who or where from.
A faceless profile on the spooky net.
You can just say it's your own story, Jay. Just go ahead. God.
It's not my story because a female sent this, and I don't have female parts today. But I'm gonna start. Are you ready?
Yeah, go for it.
Ready. I'm ready, Boots. Start walking.
Whoa. So she began dating a man
First mistake.
who, just for fun, she's now married to.
Second mistake.
And they decided to have a sleepover one night. And she, in the middle of her sleep, had her period.
Oh no.
And it was a gusher.
Oh no.
But not the fruit snack.
Oh, not the gusher that you see on TV. But she bled.
The gusher that Kotex won't show on TV.
Yeah, it's not the blue color.
It's supposed to be blue. That was the deal.
It's supposed to be blue! This is the agreement!
So she woke up and she found out that she bled all over his sheets. Keep in mind, he had white sheets.
He had white sheets.
You know, that's his fucking mistake.
Right?
That's his fault. White sheets.
I never had white sheets. That's a terrible idea.
Straight people are wild. What do you think is? What are you doing with white sheets?
We still don't have white sheets. That's terrible.
I have like champagne colored sheets that sometimes go in my rotation. I'm like, this is too close to white.
We have gray sheets.
Gray. I love gray.
I know what I'm all about, son.
Gray or blue?
But, so she wakes up. She bled all over his white sheets. So she snuck out of bed, went into the bathroom, and she wet some toilet paper.
Did he not have towels?
I don't know. And she climbed.
He's spending the money on white sheets, I guess.
She climbed back in bed, which she said, keep in mind his bed was pressed against the wall, so she had to climb up from the foot of the bed.
Straight people, get your bed out of the corner. Stop it. Stop putting your bed in the corner.
And so
You're not 5.
So she laid in bed quietly, trying not to wake him, and took a wet ball of toilet paper and was rubbing and trying to get the blood out.
Like a really bad Tide pen? That's blood, sweetie. That's blood. That's not coming out.
So
A really bad Tide pen. I'm gonna use that the rest of my life.
she said she doesn't even remember what she did with the toilet paper, if she got up and threw it away or if she just shoved it in her pocket or something.
What?
But the next morning they got up and she just covered the spot and left. And she never ever talked about it again, and he never said anything to her, and her sending us...
And they're married!
Yes! And her sending us this message was the first time she's ever repeated the story.
I love this. This is the best way for this to happen. Absolutely incredible. Great job.
And I was like, I love this so much. I don't even think I can explain to you how much I loved this anonymous message.
You don't have to. It's as incredible. I don't even, there's no words. I have no words. Is this scary or just like the most triumphant story I've ever heard in my life?
Well, it's
What a power move.
a mix of a horror story, because I'm sure they did something before then. Oh my god, I loved that so much. I probably read it like 10 times, and just, yeah, it's amazing.
She's just like this massive blood stain on the fucking sheet. And all she did with the toilet paper in reality was like dab out a message that says, "You're mine now."
It says red rum on his sheets. But could you imagine, like,
I'm in awe of this.
that's a guy, they're young, and he probably never ever folded his bedding over for days and just didn't realize that there's bloodstains on his sheet and it's
I'm so stressed by that. The thought of this guy who has just, one, he chose white sheets. Poor choice, man. Poor choice.
I'm stressed about trying to secretly climb off the bed and get a wet toilet paper ball.
Also, bed in the corner? What the fuck? This is not her fault. This is his fault. He made a lot of mistakes.
Like, nowadays, I'm like, no, you should own it and just be like, yeah, I fucking had my period. But I get it. Back then, that's so embarrassing. Because
She just had like I had a whole Amber Heard moment, but instead of poop, it was some blood.
At least it was an Amber Turd moment.
Wow.
Didn't you say they're married now?
Yeah, worked out.
So, obviously, he was cool.
She claimed her spot. She said, "This is mine."
Oh my god. Shut the fuck up. Ow.
oh my god. Oh man. Well,
Well, anonymous,
Well, I mean, good for you.
A+ job. You did it. Fantastic. No notes.
Anonymous, we love you. We support you. That was the best choice ever. And good job on snagging that guy with a good heavy bleed.
Just hoping that at your wedding you either served french fries and ketchup or shrimp cocktail with cocktail sauce on your white dress.
The scariest part of that story was the fact that your now husband had white sheets and a bed pressed into the corner. That is terrifying.
Do we have any reviews to read out this week, Jay? Do we have a new review?
We've actually had a couple reviews since our last recording that felt really good to read, but we're extremely thankful. We received 2 this week, and this one made me feel really good because it said Perfect Trio Banter was the header on it. And This is 5 stars, by the way, so in case anyone's wondering how cool we are.
Spotify loser.
In case you guys need a hint, that's a great start. It's 5 stars.
Yeah. If you need an example, this is one to follow. And it said, these 3, for whatever reason, have such a great connection. And it's because my 2 friends that I podcast with are whores. That's why we connect well.
Oh, yeah.
The banter is almost like they've been stocking shelves and checking out customers for years. And you know what? OSU white? That sounds a little strange. We have been checking out customers for years because they're all pretty.
Still am, baby.
Also, we received another one that said, "Keep it up, boys!" Exclamation point. This podcast is incredibly enjoyable. I throw it on when I need to be productive, but want to laugh and learn something new while doing it. These guys are so great and funny, so down to earth and easy to listen to. I love all of the topics they choose to discuss, and I feel like it's just a casual conversation that you could jump right into. 5 stars and highly recommend. And for you guys,
I love it.
we love you. That made our little hearts happy.
Thank you guys so much for the reviews. That was wonderful. And it really does.
Yeah, we really love those.
Yeah, that really does make my heart melt.
As much as this hurts, guys, the music is going back on.
Ugh. Can't believe break's already over.
It's time to wrap it up. But this was such a fun time, and we learned a lot more than I thought we would in the break room today.
I learned about all of my health issues unintentionally, which is
my
fantastic to know. So,
I think I see.
if you are an attorney, I may need you.
I think I see the ghost of Effie molesting a man in the cheese aisle, so I've got to go deal with that.
I think I see the ghost of Karen Silkwood telling you to stay in your lane, Jay, until you have a great attorney.
Ooh, Karen Silkwood. She and I are hanging out next week for beers to talk about this. And Effie, I'm a little bit offended that I sometimes look butch when I'm there until I'm really drunk, and then I don't look butch at all. But why didn't you hit on me? Like, what is it about me? It's because I'm not cute?
It's because you're a top and she is too.
Oh! Damn.
Damn it, Effie! Take your baby and get the hell out of here.
She says, don't worry, babe. I've got the Boda box this time.
What? She just stabs it and she's like...
Thank you guys so much for showing up to another episode.
We want to keep reading your feedback. Email us, beardsandsundries@gmail.com. We want those 5-star reviews.
Nothing less, though, please.
Yeah, check us out on TikTok, on Facebook, on Instagram. Message us, send us email. We want to hear from you guys. We love it. And again, make sure you rate and review us on whatever streaming platform you are listening to us on. It helps us to get in front of more listeners. So if you really enjoy the podcast and you come back to it every week, please rate and review us so that more people can hear what we're doing here, because we really enjoy reaching new people.
And honestly, if you're watching any of our socials and you're like, oh, I kind of want to message them because I think it would be fun, but do it, because we're always paying attention and we are going to respond to you. We like to talk to you.
Absolutely.
We've gotten so much feedback that we've gained a lot of friendships from this, and we love it a lot.
Thank you guys so much for coming back for episode 17 of Beers and Sundries. We hope to see you next week for episode 18 for a very special episode.
Very spooky.
We love you so much, and if you have time between now and next week, please send us your horror stories, because we would love to talk about them. They are a lot of fun. We have chuckled quite a bit at these already, so we're looking forward to them. Do not be afraid to message us on any of our socials or at beardsandsundries@gmail.com.
Thank you guys.
Bye, Beardos. Love you.
We love you so much. Thank you for listening. Goodbye. Whoa!